Okay, where are we? This is a very late edition and probably the longest break I've had from doing these videos since I started. So I wanted to do this mainly as a reference point for myself that there was reason for why I've taken the last few days off. Last video was Friday or Thursday last week, I can't remember, but anyway, it was Easter, so it wasn't working, and then but pretty much everyone in the household has been unwell or getting unwell or not feeling fantastic the last couple of days, so that's it. I haven't really been working, and when I have, it's been very much doing the priorities. And again, as I alluded to probably a few times doing these videos, they are very much like a hobby or something I currently see as just something I'm doing for fun, and I'm trying to figure out a few things over time with them, something I'll come back to probably now in this video. But in a nutshell, that's why there hasn't been any. So I'll do one today, that'll be number 49 I believe, and then tomorrow's edition will be a roundup of Q1, because it was a great first few months of the year, really exciting. For what it's worth, I secured another client, so the business is in a really good place heading into Q2, and there's a couple of really exciting things I have lined up. So business wise, all good. Health wise, a bit meh, but there you go. And as I've said countless times, with the benefits of running your own business comes the flexibility, the autonomy, the whatever else is important to you, but the challenges, the difficulties come whenever you are sick and you can't work, or your children aren't well and you have to drop things and whatever else. So it all balances out over time, I'm sure, but this week is one of those weeks where, but frankly, the business stuff outside of key client sessions like the one I had this morning, it's just not a priority, and that's perfect. That's the way I want it. For me, doing this, it definitely is hard at times, don't get me wrong. It's hard to park something that you spend a lot of time working on, but I mean, who wouldn't? Or if you run your own business and prioritize that entirely over everything else, certainly not for me anyhow. So that's a bit of a general update. Business wise, I'll not get into things too much, as I say. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. And what else is going on? The thing that is entirely on my mind at the moment, and I made a LinkedIn post about it today, it was more or less, I wouldn't say a repost, but it's something I've spoken about on LinkedIn at least 3 times since I started posting last year. It is this idea of, and it's probably one of the most worrying things I hear founders of businesses say, it's a lack in confidence of, it's about hiring, right? And it's specifically not really knowing when they should be hiring or why they should be hiring specifically. And I'll be quite open about this as far as I can be anyhow. In the agency I was with previously, from my perspective, knowing what I know now, we did what we thought was best, but we definitely hired in places where we didn't need to, or we hired maybe the wrong type of person for a certain role. We hired some phenomenal people in the exact right place for the business, and it's helped us thrive and do really well. But you learn a lot by going through the motions of hiring and figuring out when you need to make hires and why. And by doing that, the thing that always stands out to me is when I ask the question, why are you hiring? The answer I get is either quite vague, or it will be a hunch, or it'll be, I think I need to hire, as opposed to, look, I know exactly where I'm at business wise. I know who's doing what. I know that they're reaching capacity. I know that they've hit capacity or over. I know that I want to reinvest in the business now based on a few good months or a good year. I want to grow, blah, blah, blah. Generally speaking, it is more of a hunch, which is dangerous because, you can operate in your gut for sure in some cases, and probably with hiring you can get away with it. But over time, as you're building out your agency, I don't think it's particularly wise. you're kind of guessing, right? I'd rather not guess. Don't get me wrong, there's an important balance to this, and that I would never want to overcomplicate this or overanalyze it, because you end up in the scenario where you don't make a decision to hire, and that can really hurt you too. But again, because of the nature of what it entails, hiring a human being, going through that process takes a lot of time. Onboarding the person takes a lot of time. It's quite intensive, and I think it's the one thing that I'm always now quite conscious of doing as well as we absolutely can. If a client says to me, look, I need to make a hire, this is why, this is who I want. And as it's played out this year already with a couple of clients, it's still really difficult to hire great people. There's no way around this. You could on paper come across a fantastic individual, and in reality then, as it played out in the first couple of months, you find out that they're not quite a right fit. Sometimes you can't do anything about it. Of course, when you look at things in retrospect, you might think, oh well, you know, we didn't really assess them that well, or we were looking for the wrong type of person, or in, you know, going through the process you might identify an opportunity to hire someone at a different seniority, whatever it is. There will always be those learnings, but generally what's on my mind is just the number of people that seem to approach this more like yeah, I think it's the right time. And I personally feel there's a way better way to do it, which is there are things you can set up and within a couple of months get a much clearer picture about whether you actually need to make the hire or not, as opposed to even, you know, if we can move away from this idea that, I suppose two things, move away from this idea that hiring should be based just on like your overall revenue number. So if it goes up, I need to hire, basically. It's not really the case. And second to that, it's almost like headcount, not so much now, but pre-COVID in particular, headcount was like a bragging right. I fell into that trap, and I would always say to people, the first thing would be, oh, I'm working for a business that now has X people. That's not a measure of success in my eyes. There are plenty of phenomenal companies out there that have less than 10 employees. There are plenty of incredible companies out there that have less than 50. It doesn't have to be 50, 200, 500 people plus to say you've done incredibly well for yourself. So yeah, that's on my mind. Just want to share some thoughts on that, really. You can check out my LinkedIn for a more extensive post than that. But that's really the main thing that's coming up today. I suspect I'll talk more about that in the future. And yeah, what else? I think I still have one part of my story to do as well, so that's maybe one for next week. But look, I'll close this one off today by saying I set out to do these videos, and I will continue to do them, by the way. The plan is to do around 100 of them, and just review how I'm feeling about things. But by the end of this week, I've done 50. It always comes back to me, that question of there's the creator Ali Abdaal, who I think I heard this from originally, who said you kind of have to decide what you're doing with your YouTube channel. It's either you do it for fun and you don't care about the views, the titles, the SEO, the thumbnails, whatever, you just create videos for fun, or else you do it, take it seriously, and you do it to generate revenue or grow your business. And what's been surprising to me is that I very much am number one. Like, I do not expect this to help me drive new business. I do not expect this to do not expect this to help me grow the company. But I've had enough people allude to the fact that it kind of is. So I'm very curious. I ask the question to myself now most weeks, or at least the last couple of weeks. I was like, if I was to take this more seriously, what would that look like? And if I was to view it as more of the latter and see it as a channel that I use to encourage people to connect with me or encourage people to reach out to me as a means to drive growth, what shape and size, like what would that look like, and what would I do differently? So yeah, that's where I'm at with this. I'm going to be thinking about that a lot between now and number 100, whatever number it is. I said I'll do this up until, I don't even know if it will be 100 videos. It's probably a bit shy of it, but I'll do this up until around the 1 year mark of the company, which is June, July time. And yeah, when we get there, I really should have an answer to that question, whether it's going to be a hobby and whether I keep doing it, or whether it's suddenly becomes whether it then becomes more like a business acquisition channel or part of my growth plan for the company. So those are some interesting thoughts, I guess. Yeah, it's just quite late in the evening now, so I'm going to call it a day on this one. Thoughts for the day: overall excited to share how the business has gone last quarter, happy with progress, hiring for clients and agents in general is on my mind, and yeah, just having to think about what I do with this thing being my YouTube channel. Even sounds funny saying that. It's not really a YouTube channel. It's a place I dump my thoughts. But again, there's me being too modest about this. I think somewhere in the region of 50 videos is quite a big achievement for me personally, and happy with the consistency, and I'm excited to see what shape it will take in the coming months. So that's it. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.